Assalamualaikum. Today's session is consists on past paper questions taken from chapter work power energy, and today is the last session related to the past paper question. And inshallah, in the tomorrow's class, we will start the revision of new chapter named pressure. So, beta, today is the last session related to the questions taken from past paper from chapter work power energy. Now, the very first question is taken from 2006 paper 2. In this question, examiner tells you that figure 6.1 shows a device used to generate electricity. You all know that the device shown on the screen is used in the hydroelectric power systems. So this device is used to generate electricity, and water is falling on the wheel from some height, and the wheel is attached to the generator by the help of the shaft. And when the water falls on the wheel starts to rotate, and the generator starts to convert the rotation of the wheel into electrical energy. So it means, beta, when the water is at the height, there is maximum gravitational potential energy in the water. And when the water falls on the wheel, then the gravitational potential energy of the water is converted into kinetic energy because the wheel starts to rotate. And at the same time, generator converts the rotation of the wheel into the electrical energy. So this is how this whole hydroelectric system generates electricity. Now in part A, state the two main energy changes that takes place in this device as water starts to flow. At the maximum height, there is maximum gravitational potential energy. So when the water falls on the wheel, the maximum gravitational potential energy is converted to kinetic energy. So beta, the first change is gravitational potential energy converted to kinetic energy, and the second energy change is kinetic energy converted to electrical energy, because when the wheel starts to rotate, the wheel is attached to the generator, and the generator starts to convert the rotation of the wheel into electrical energy. So the second change is that the kinetic energy converted to electrical energy. Now, part B, the change in the potential energy of the water every second is 2000 joule. The electrical output is 1200 joules every second. Now the examiner asks you to calculate the efficiency of the process, and this whole question is of 2 marks. So beta, 1 marks is for the proper putting of the values, and the second marks is for answer. So beta, the formula for efficiency is useful output energy divided by total input energy multiplied by 100, because efficiency is a unitless quantity. So we represent or we present the efficiency in terms of percentage. So beta, that's why we multiply it by 100. So at the place of output energy, we will put 1200, and at the place of input, we will put 2000, because input and output is given in the question. And after multiplying it by 100, we will get an answer which is 60%. So 60% is the efficiency for this whole process. Now in part C, state 2 ways in which the device wastes energy. Beta, it is clearly shown in the diagram that the wheel is rotating on the axle or on some sort of shaft. So when the wheel is continuously rotating, there is the continuous contact of wheel with the shaft. So there is maximum chances of producing or producing friction. So the very first way in which the device wastes energy is the friction between moving part of the wheel. Now the second waste is that we all know that there is some sort of winding involved in the generator, and when the electricity passes through the winding, then the winding heats up because of the resistance. So the second waste is the winding of the generator heats up due to resistance. So beta, these are the two type of ways in which the device wastes energy. First is the friction between moving parts of the wheel, and second is the windings of the generator heats up due to resistance, because when the electricity passes through the winding heats up because of the friction. Now beta, now students, the second question is taken from year 2007 paper 2 May June. Now one type of renewable energy source is shown in figure 3.1, and it is clearly visible on the screen that the cold water is going down into the hot rocks, and when it goes up after passing through the hot rocks, the cold water is converted into hot water and steam. So it means the cold water gains energy from the hot rocks and converted into hot water and steam. So beta, this whole process is used for geothermal power systems because the rocks are hidden inside the earth surfaces and the cold water takes the heat from the rocks, from these hot rocks, and convert it into hot water and steam. So in part A, state the name of the renewable energy source shown in figure 3.1. So beta, this whole system is used for geothermal power. So what is the name of the renewable energy source shown in figure 3.1? Geothermal. Because in this process, the cold water takes the heat from the hot rocks present inside the earth crust. And when the cold water takes the heat from the hot rocks, it is converted into hot water or steam. And this steam strikes the blades of the turbine, and the generator starts to convert the rotation of the turbine into electrical energy. Now in part 2, state what is mean by renewable energy source. So beta, renewable energy source are the energy sources which are limited, which are unlimited in the amount, and which can be used again and again to produce electrical energy, and they will not run out after certain time. In part B, 1000 kg of cold water at a temperature of 20 degrees centigrade Celsius is pumped out to the hot rocks. 100 kg of the water returns as steam and 900 kg as water, 900 kg as hot water. So it means beta, the amount of the cold water entering the hot rock is 1000 kg, and from 1000 kg, 100 kg is converted into steam and 900 kg as hot water. And both steam and hot water are at the same temperature of 100 degree Celsius. The specific heat capacity of water is given to you, which is 4200 joules per kg degree centigrade, and the specific latent heat of vaporization of water is 2.3 exponential 6 joules per kg. Now calculate the energy needed to heat 1000 kg of water from 20 to 100 degrees Celsius. So beta, in this question, the examiner asks you to calculate the heat energy needed to change the temperature of 1000 kg water from 20 to 100 degrees Celsius. So when there is some sort of temperature change involved and the examiner asks you to calculate the energy, so the formula which we use for this purpose is Q is equal to mc delta theta. In this formula, Q is the amount of energy, m is the mass, c is the specific heat capacity, and delta theta is the change in temperature. So we put 1000 at the place of m, 4200 at the place of c, and at the place of delta theta, we put 100 minus 20. Delta theta is equal to theta 2 minus theta 1, means final temperature minus initial temperature. So 100 minus 20, 80. So after multiplying all the values, we will get an answer which is 3.36 exponential 8 joules. In part 2, the energy needed to produce 100 kg of steam from water that is already at 100 degrees centigrade. So beta, in part 2, examiner asks you to calculate the energy which is needed to convert the cold water into steam. It means there is some sort of change of physical state is involved. So beta, when the change of physical state is involved, so for calculating the energy, we will use the formula which is Q is equal to ml. Q is the amount of energy, m is the mass, and L is the specific latent heat. So beta, at the place of mass, we will put 100, and at the place of specific latent heat, we will put 2.3 exponential 6. So after multiplying it, we will get an answer which is 2.3 exponential 8 joules. Now beta, the third question is taken from 2008 paper 2. In this question, a river flows over a cliff producing a waterfall, and the waterfall is at the temperature of 7.2 degrees centigrade and falls into the pool after traveling a height of 700 meters. The gravitational field strength is 10 Newton per kg. In part A, the examiner asks you to calculate the change in gravitational potential energy of each kilogram of water due to its fall. Beta, you all need to know that when an examiner asks you to calculate the change in gravitational potential energy, increase in gravitational potential energy, or decrease in gravitational potential energy, so for all these three cases, we will use the same formula of gravitational potential energy, which is mgh. So at the place of m, we put 1 kg because examiner asks you to calculate the gravitational potential energy of each kilogram of water. So at the place of mass, we will put 1 kg, and at the place of G, we will put 10, which is given in the question. And at the place of height, we will put 700. After solving it, the answer is 7,000 joules. So 7,000 joule is the change in gravitational potential energy of each kilogram of water due to its fall. Now in part B, assume that all of this energy is converted into thermal energy in the water in the pool. Calculate the temperature of this water when it is in the pool. It means the examiner asks you to calculate the final temperature of the water when the water is in the pool, because when the water is falling or producing a waterfall, the temperature of the water is 7.2 degrees centigrade. Now in part B, examiner asks you to calculate the temperature when the water is in the pool. It means the examiner asks you to calculate the final temperature, and the specific heat capacity is also given to you, which is 4200 joules per kg degree centigrade. Now beta, again temperature change is involved, so we use the same formula, which is Q is equal to mc delta theta, but we make delta theta as a subject in this formula because the examiner asks you to calculate the final temperature. So we first find out the value for change in temperature delta theta. The formula for delta theta is equal to Q divided by mc. At the place of Q we put 7,000, at the place of m we put 1, and at the place of c we put 4,200. And after solving it, we will get the value for change in temperature, which is 1.67 degrees centigrade. Now we all know that change in temperature delta theta is equal to theta 2 minus theta 1, and we are supposed to find out the value for theta 2. So we make theta 2 a subject. So theta 1 will be added in delta theta. So delta theta plus theta 1. At the place of delta theta, we put 1.67. At the place of theta 1, we put 7.2. And after adding it, we will get an answer which is 8.87. And after rounding of the value, we will get the answer which is 8.9 degrees centigrade. So 8.9 degrees centigrade is the final temperature of the water when the water is in the pool. Now beta, the fourth question is taken from 2009 paper 2. In this question, figure 9.1 shows an electric boiler in a school kitchen. And beta, the boiler contains 35 kg of the water, which is at 22 degrees centigrade. The specific heat capacity of the water is given to you, which is 4200 joule per kg degree Celsius. Now in question part A, part 1, examiner asks you to calculate the thermal energy needed to raise the temperature of the water from 22 to its boiling point. It means the temperature of the water increases from 22 degrees centigrade to 100 degrees centigrade. There is again temperature change is involved. So we use the formula, which is Q is equal to mc delta theta. At the place of m we put 35. C, the value of C is 4200, and at the place of delta theta we put 100 minus 22, and the answer is 78. After solving the value, we will get the answer, which is 1.14 exponential 7 joules. In part 2, the water in the boiler is heated with a 2600 watt immersion heater. It means in this part, the power of the immersion heater is given to you, which is 2600 watts. Calculate the minimum time for the heater to bring the water to its boiling point. Now the examiner gives you the value for the power, and the formula for power is energy divided by time. And in this question, the examiner demands you to calculate the minimum time. So we just manipulate with this formula and make the time subject. So the value will be energy divided by power. So beta, energy is calculated in part 1, 1.14 exponential 7, and at the place of power we put to 2600, and after solving it we will get the answer, and the value for time is 4410 seconds. In part 3, suggest one reason why the actual time is greater than the time calculated in part 2. Now beta, it is clearly shown in part 1 and part 2 that we all calculate the thermal energy needed to raise the temperature of the water from 22 to 100 degrees centigrade. But in these two parts, we will not consider the amount of the energy which is dissipated or wasted in the surrounding. So that's why the actual time is greater than the time calculated in part 2, because when we are performing the calculation in part 2, we just only consider the thermal energy needed to raise the temperature of the water. we do not conceive, we were not considering, or we were not include the amount of the thermal energy which is wasted in the surrounding. That's why in part 2 the time is lesser, and the actual time is greater than the time calculated in part 2. So the reason is that heat lost to the surrounding. Part B, part 1. The immersion heater is placed in the water at the bottom of the boiler. Explain in detail how this ensures that the thermal energy is transferred throughout the water. So beta, in this question, you all need to write down the whole process through which the water conducts thermal energy. What happened? The water particle or molecules near the immersion heater get the energy and becomes less dense. And when they become less dense, they rise up, and the cold particles which are denser takes the place of the living hot particle, and this creates the convection current inside the water. So beta, when we talk about the liquids, conducting liquids thermal energy, so there is a convection current involved in the case of the liquids or gases, because liquids and gases conduct thermal energy through convection currents. In part 2, the boiler is made of steel and has two large plastic handles. When the water is boiling, the steel surface at X is hot, while the plastic handle at Y is cool. Explain why. Beta, the steel is a metal, and the metal conducts the heat faster. But when we talk about the plastic is an insulator, and the plastic do not have the free electrons. That's why the plastic do not conduct thermal energy, while the steel conducts thermal energy. In part C, before the water reaches boiling point, water evaporates, water vapors is seen escaping from the boiler. State the name of the process that produces this water vapors. So beta, the name of the process which produces water vapors is evaporation, because evaporation is a process in which high energy liquid molecules escaping the surface of the liquid, leaving behind the low energy molecules, and the overall temperature of the liquid or the system decreases. In part 2, state two differences between the process and boiling. So beta, it it means in part 2 examiner demands you to write down the two differences between evaporation and boiling. The first difference is evaporation is slower, boiling is faster. The second difference is evaporation occurs over a range of temperature, but boiling occurs at a fixed temperature. The third difference is evaporation does not require any external source of fire, while boiling requires external source of fire. Fourth difference is that no bubbles are formed during evaporation, while in boiling bubbles are formed. So beta, the four reasons which I mentioned, you will use only only two differences from these mentioned four differences. Now beta, the fifth question is taken from 2010 paper 2-1, and in this question state the principle of conservation of energy. The principle of conservation of energy states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but the energy can be transformed from one form to another, and the total energy of the system always remains constant. Because students, when we perform some sort of work and we use energy, then one type of energy is converted into other type of the energy, but the total energy of the system always remains constant. And during this whole process we are not creating or destroying any type of the energy. So this is the principle of conservation of energy. In part B, figure 3.1 shows a miner using a head torch powered by a battery pack shown in the figure. The battery pack contains the cell that powers the filament lamp in the head torch. Now, in part 1, state the main energy change that takes place in the cell. So beta, in the cell, chemicals are present. So chemical energy is converted into light energy and heat energy. या आप यूं कह लें कि आपके पास cells के अंदर क्या होगा, आपके cells के अंदर जो ions होंगे, the ions starts to move. It means the chemical energy changes to kinetic energy and heat energy. State two different forms of energy that are produced in the filament lamp. So beta, when the filament lamps light up, the filament lamp produces light energy and also heat. So the two different forms of energy that are produced in the filament lamp are light energy and heat energy. In part C, an identical battery pack powers a different head torch that uses LEDs. Beta, LEDs stands for light emitting diodes, and the main advantage of using LED is that LED consumes less power and providing the light with same brightness by using less power or consumes less power. So the two torches are equally bright, but the efficiency of the torch using the LED is much higher because the LED consumes less power. That's why the efficiency of the LED is very higher than the filament lamp. State how the amount of different forms of energy produced in the LEDs compare with the amount produced in the filament lamp. So beta, when we are comparing the LEDs with filament lamp, so the first thing is that filament lamp consumes high electrical energy while LED consumes less electrical energy. So the first reason is less electrical energy. Now, filament lamp produces more thermal energy or more heat energy. Well, while when we talk about LEDs produces less thermal energy. So the second reason is less thermal energy. But when we talk about the brightness of the light, the examiner also mentions in the question that the two torches are equally bright. So these two torches emits same light energy. But the main advantage of using LED is that LED consumes less electrical energy and produce less thermal energy. The thermal energy generated by the heater in 2 minutes. Now the examiner asks you to calculate the thermal energy. Now the examiner asks you to calculate the thermal energy generated by the heater in 2 minutes. So beta, the formula for calculating energy is power multiplied by time. At the place of power, we put 420, and at the place of time, we put 2 multiplied by 60, which is 120 seconds. So after solving it, we will get the answer, which is 50,400 joules. Part B, one cold morning, the rear window of this car is covered in ice. Ice has a specific latent heat of 330 joule per gram. In part 1, the examiner demands you to calculate the maximum mass of ice that this heater melts in 2 minutes. In this case, again, there is some change of physical state involved. So when the change of physical state is involved, so we use the formula, which is Q is equal to ml. So we make mass a subject. So m is equal to Q divided by L. So at the place of Q, we put 50,400, which is calculated in part 2. The value of the energy which we calculate in part 2 is used in B part 1. And at the place of L, we put 330. After solving it, we will get the value for the amount for the mass, which is 152.7 grams. In part 2, state two reasons why the actual quantity of ice melted in 2 minutes may be less than the value calculated. So beta, the very first reason is that some heat is also lost to the surrounding. And the second reason is that the ice is below 0 degree centigrade, and it takes time for an ice to reach the temperature to 0 degree centigrade, and then the ice starts to melt at 0 degree Celsius. So the second reason is that the ice is below 0 degree Celsius. Now, the next question is taken from year 2011, paper 2-1. In this question, figure 2.1 shows an elevator that is supported by a cable. Now it is clearly visible in the diagram that the elevator is counterbalanced by using a concrete block, and the motor is pulling the elevator upward and the concrete block is moving downward in order to balance the weight of the elevator, counterbalance the weight of an elevator. So beta, the cable passes around the axle of an electric motor and over a pulley. The cable is then attached to a concrete block that has the same mass as the empty elevator. As the elevator moves up, the concrete block moves down. Now in part A, explain why very little work is done by the electric motor when lifting up the empty elevator. So beta, the first thing is that during this whole process, the energy is transferred from concrete block to the elevator. So it means the main thing is the work done by falling concrete block. It means when we perform some sort of work on the falling concrete block, then this work is transferred to an empty elevator and the empty elevator raises above the ground. So the answer is energy transferred from block to the elevator and work done by falling concrete block raises the elevator upward. Part B. Several pupils of total weight for 4,900 Newton are traveling upward at constant speed in the elevator. They rise through a distance of 24 meter in 28 seconds. So beta, the weight is given to you, the distance and the time is also given to you. The examiner demands you to calculate the minimum power output of the electric motor. So beta, The formula for calculating power is energy divided by time. And in this case, the energy is the work done, because work done and energy both are the same physical quantities. So beta, at the place of the energy, we will put the formula for work done, which is force multiplied by distance. So at the place of 4, we put 4,900 Newton, and at the place of distance, we put 24 meter, and at the place of time, we put 28. After solving it, we will get the answer, which is 4,200 watt is the minimum power output of the electric motor. Now, the next question is taken from 2012 paper 2-1. In this question, figure 3.1 shows an electric motor being used on a building site to lift bricks. Now beta, it is clearly shown in the diagram that the bricks is raising over a height of 2.8 meter. The gravitational field strength is given to you, which is 10 Newton per kg. The mass of the total mass of the bricks are 54 kg, and the bricks are lifting through the height of 2.8 meter in 3 seconds. In part A, calculate the work done in lifting the bricks. So beta, when the bricks are lifting upward, it means the work is stored in the form of gravitational potential energy. So we use the formula for gravitational potential energy. We use the formula of gravitational potential energy for the calculation of work done, which is mgh. So at the place of m, we put 54, at the place of g, we put 10, and at the place of height, we put 2.8. So after solving it, we will get the answer, which is 1512 joules. In part 2, the useful output power of the motor. Now calculate the useful output power. So the formula for power is energy divided by time, and we use the energy or work done, which is calculated in part 1 for the calculation of the output power. So at the place of energy, we put 1512, and the time is also mentioned in the question, which is 3.0 seconds. So after dividing it, we will get the value for the power output, which is 504 watt. Part B, suggest two reasons why the electrical power supplied to the motor is greater than its useful output power. In this question, the examiner demands two reasons for why the electrical power supplied to the motor is greater than its useful output power. So beta, the very first reason is that the electric motor performs much work in lifting the bricks as well as the rope and the board on which the bricks are placed. So the first reason is some power is used to lift the rope and the board. Now the second reason is when the motor is continuously moving, there is some sort of friction creates between the moving parts of the motor, and the some power is also dissipated or wasted in overcoming the friction creates or generated by the moving parts of the motor. So the second reason is some power is used against friction. So the two reasons are some power is used to lift the rope and board. The second reason is some power is used against friction. Now students, thank you for joining this whole session.